Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. We will be discussing the basics of Langchain and Gemini in this video. You'll understand what is Langchain, what is Gemini, and how do you build your own chain. It's a basic chain, it's a single chain, and in the later videos, we'll build a more complex chain which has memory. So this one would be without a memory, a single basic chain. Let's begin by understanding what's Langchain. Langchain is a Python framework to build and integrate with LLM systems. The word chain is inside Langchain, so it helps you build complex chain operations and implement it in your models. It's an open source framework, so you can use it for free. Same with Gemini. It's an LLM. It's Google's LLM. You can access it using the Google API key. We saw earlier how an API key can be generated and used, and that's exactly what we'll be covering here. We'll be using that same API key. You don't need to build an API key for every new module or any new notebooks. So I've been using this for some time now. You can reuse the same key. Let's start by building this. We'll have to install packages. So let me add a line of code and start by installing packages. We don't need much. We just need two packages to install. So pip install Langchain. That's our first one. Install Langchain. And the second one is pip install Langchain for Google Gen AI. This is our first video on Google Colab, which is based entirely on Google Colab. Previous videos were done on Visual Studio Code as the Python environment. Right now we're moving to Google Colab because it has more computation power, and since it's free, so most of us can just access it over the internet without having to download anything. So that's why let's move to Google Colab. It's optional, so this is an optional cell in which you can specify the encoding format. Let me do that. Let me show you how to do it. And that's basically done for consistency. You can read the details down below. How do you specify an encoding format? You import locale and you say locale dot get preferred encoding, and you set it as lambda is the built-in Python function, and let's say I set it to UTF-8, right? So you have ASCII and all that. You can choose your preferred encoding format. This is optional. You can choose to ignore this line of code as well. Let's set up our environment. Let's call, so this we'll be using a different technique this time. We need our API key to connect with our model. So to set up the environment, let's upload what we need. We need the Gemini API key. I'll upload it here. Your files are saved elsewhere. Okay, that's fine. The Gemini API key, I won't be showing it to you, but it's in the YAML format. So we'll be importing the YAML library. So YAML. How do you do it? You just go to your notepad. You say go to a notepad. You write something. So you say my Google API key is in quotes, and you type your key here. You do this, then you go to file, you do a save as, in text document all files, and you say let's say Gemini key .yml, and it will save in the YAML format for you. I already have a Gemini. Let me call this my key for better representation. Let's click it. Oh, this encoding format is also UTF-8. Not that it's relevant. I just saw and pointed it out. So the my key is in the .yaml format. If I go to this upload file and see my key, so both of these, I just uploaded Gemini._API, and now my key is also a YAML source file. That's how I created this YAML file. Let me show you how this file looks. So Gemini API dot YML. Not sure why it's taking so long. Let's move ahead with our code. I'll say import YAML, and how to read this particular file is to say with, oh, it's already coded for me. So with open, let's say Gemini underscore key dot YML, and then we'll do a comma R. And how do you want to import it? Let's call it as file. Okay, that's the word we're using, keyword we're using. You say API underscore credential. API credential is YAML dot save load file. That's what we want. So let's load it. So now you see my YAML file is open, Google API key, and you place your API key like this. GoLab gives you the functionality to edit things out here as well. Let's run this code. File not found, error. There is no such file in directory. Gemini key. Oh, okay. It's Gemini API dot YML. Alright, we have the file loaded. Let's add another line of code and say import OS. I'm setting up our environment to work on, and os.environ bracket square bracket open Google underscore API underscore key is equal to API credential is equal to API. Hey, you were suggesting the right thing. API credential API key. Okay, let's call it API key, or let's call it Gemini API key. It doesn't matter what you call it, but you do. So let me run this as well. We've encountered another error. It says string indices must be integers. String. Oh, okay. So the problem is that it is supposed to be read in a dictionary format, but it is being read in a string format. Let me confirm this by saying type. What's the type of API underscore credentials? API underscore credential should be it's credential. API underscore credential should be a dictionary. It's a string. That's because we haven't initiated it as a dictionary. Let me save this file again, and I'll run it from the top. Let me reload it. The only change we've done is change that equal to the colon. I think, yeah, even when I showed you this example, it's a colon that we have to use so that a dictionary format is provided. Gemini API key. When I wrote Gemini underscore key, then I received an error saying that the key error is Gemini key. It's because API credential has this as the key. So whatever variable you place to the left of your colon, that same variable should be present here. Okay. So for example, if I change this to ABC and save the file, have it load again, then have this file load, it will give me an error saying that Google API key is not defined. So I'll change this to ABC, and now we'll be able to proceed. So you can change the right hand side or the API credential and the key name. So API credential is a dictionary. It's a dictionary, right? So it's a dictionary, and you can change the key. You have the fixed value. You remember in a dictionary, the value is what's a dictionary? It's a value key pair, a key value pair. So key colon value, where this is your key ABC. That's why you call it a dictionary. Similarly, what if I try to change this particular variable? What if I say it's QWERTY? Let's call it that. But remember now, since I've already run the os.environ and Google API key as the variable inside of this, I'll have to rerun everything to see if this will give an error or not. Let's go back. Let's run the YML file. Let's run this second code, and let's say type API credentials. Okay. For now, we see that everything has run successfully. We've replaced the word Google underscore API underscore key with this random word QWERTY. We'll see what will happen next in the model as we move along. Let's get to building of the model. So we'll need from Langchain, we need from Langchain underscore core dot prompts, we need the prompt template. So import chat prompt template, and we'll also need from Langchain underscore Google's Gen AI, Google underscore Gen AI, import chat Google generative AI. Those are the exact two libraries we need. Let's call our model. Let's keep it simple. Chat. Our model would be chat Google generative AI. Yes, this one, the one we just imported. Chat Google generative AI. It takes the argument model. The argument would be model, and we'll be using Gemini Pro as usual, what we've been using so far. Let's save the file and run the model. Let me call the model and see that has it been initiated. So it has been initiated. Okay. Let's come to the final part of our code. The final part is to give or to get a response from the model while also giving it a prompt. So let's call my prompt fact. Okay. And say that, hey, tell me a fun fact about I'll specify the topic to you later. Let's call the other, I'll need another variable. Let me call it prompt. Let's call my prompt chat. We'll use the chat prompt template, the one that we imported here. We'll use the chat prompt template and say that from template, from underscore template fact. Let's dive into and understand what this code is telling us. I'll also clear the clutter out here. Can you go away? Okay. So we've defined a variable. We've defined two variables. One is a string. One is a string which has a curly braces in it. So we would probably want to understand or get to know a fun fact about some particular topic. So this topic acts as a particular placeholder, and we'll replace this with some dynamic value later on. So I hope this part is clear. Coming to the second part, where we initialize this variable called prompt, which uses chat prompt template dot from template, and this from template accepts this entire argument or this entire string that you just initiated. Okay, so what's happening here is that this method creates a template object for the prompt using the string fact. It essentially converts the template string into a structure that can be dynamically filled with specific values, right? So any specific values that you want, we'll dynamically input it here, and whenever you're interacting with the model. This particular method allows you to generate a prompt template from the given string that we've defined in the word fact. This template then can be used repeatedly, and we'll be providing a different value each time it runs. So that's what's happening here. I'll also print and show you what's happening. For now, let me call the chain. Let me call chain as a variable in which we will provide, okay, it's already pre-filled for me. So open your brackets, say prompt, do a pipe separator, and say model. The other way you can look at it is, hey, this is my prompt. My model is already defined, so that's my model. And now let me call the chain variable. What we'll do with this is called response. That's a variable that we're creating, and we'll invoke this chain. So invoke this chain. Okay, it's giving me a good suggestion about the topic being cats. So let's hear a fun fact about cats. And what do we get the response as? So response dot content. Let's see what the LLM responds. Oh, we've received an error. We've received an error that says, let me stop the runtime. Yes, let me stop it. Okay, it says authentication. Okay. Oh, okay. You remember this issue stems from this keyword QWERTY that we just placed here. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you have to use the particular word Google underscore API underscore key only here to load this API key. So this is where the authentication. So whenever there's an authentication error happening, it's probably because your key is not plugged in properly. Let's rerun this file. I'll import the file again. I'll initialize this. We don't need this one, but let's import the model. Let's call the model. I don't need this cell. Let me delete it. We know that the model will be initiated, and let's run the last cell. Hopefully we'll, oh great. So we have the fact that cats have 32 muscles in their ears, etc. So we were able to understand and generate a basic LLM chain. Let's further deep dive and see what's in this variable called prompt. Right? I want to see what's inside this, and it's a good practice to keep printing anything that you think is you should be knowing. Right? So I think it has the template stored here, and there's a lot of other things. So that's one. Let's also see. Let's also invoke the function prompt dot format, right? And format, and in this we'll place our topic and we'll call it cats because that's what we've used above. And let's see what it gives the output. So when we in use chain.invoke and when we replace the string topic with cats, what the model gets as an input is that a human is telling me, or a human is saying, tell me a fun fact about cats. I can change this to say dogs, and you'll see that the model will now receive an input that the human is asking me for a fun fact about dogs. So this is what's going inside the prompt, and then your model is running on top of the prompt. So I hope you understand what we are actually feeding the model. This line is what we are feeding the model, and then the model is running and giving you a fact about it. So that's what's happening in the background. It's always good to print out these things and see what's happening. I hope this would be very clear to you. You can also also another function that you can use. It's not exactly a function, but an argument inside. So while initiating the model, you can use convert underscore system underscore message to human. That's the variable, and say true. Okay. I'll rerun the model. I'll rerun fact, and this is the response that we've generated. So there's a warning that we're getting that this convert to system to human will soon be deprecated. I went to Google and saw what deprecate means, and it says that it'll soon be obsolete and superseded. So not a big error, main issue, because we were able to generate a response, and this is the response. For a clearer response, you can do print and do a bracket on both sides. That's what you see here. So you need not use this particular variable or argument. If you still want to use it, you can add another line of code. You can add another line of code and say import warnings, and you can choose to ignore these warnings. Warnings or filter warnings ignored. Okay. Now try to rerun the model. you'll probably not be seeing this. So the reason I read up about the convert system message to human argument, and um, we probably need it for more complex problems, but not for the current use case we are solving. So you can get rid of it as well. So let's sum up what we've learned so far. We understood what Langchain is, Gemini is. We installed these libraries. We optionally started and got an encoding pattern. We also went ahead and saw in detail what or how to create a YAML file, how to import it, how to load it, how to load the entire environment, what errors we might encounter, what is the type of API credential. Then we started to build the model. Building the model involved two basic imports. We saw that we initiated the model. Our model is, as usual, it's Gemini Pro. We placed a fun fact about we asked it a fun fact about a certain topic, where that topic would be the placeholder. We initiated chat prompt template, and then the chain where the prompt as well as the model was specified. We invoked the chain, got a response for a particular topic, say cats in our case, got the response, printed it, and also understood what's happening behind the scenes when we use prompt, and what exactly does the model see or accept as input when we type the topic as cats. I think that covers a huge deal on the basics of Langchain and Gemini. Congratulations, you just built your first chain. And stay tuned, in the next video we'll be developing chains with memory. Thank you and see you in the next one.